Hello. Nice to see you all. Haven't seen this many young faces in a school board meeting in a long time, so it's great to see you. Thank you for being here. Hope everybody is having a good time as the school year wraps up. Only a little while to go before a good break when we all get to rest. We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's December 8th at a little after 5:30 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education. Just to note, we have myself and Vice President Bozé here. We have Secretary Anderson on the phone, which does make a quorum. And we have Dr. Gonzalez and Board Member Abeyta excused this evening. And welcome to our student board members. It is always great to see you, truly. So we'll start as ever with the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the New Mexico flag in English and in Spanish, and then the acknowledgement of tribal land. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el símbolo Zia de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas. Thank you. And the acknowledgement of tribal land. We acknowledge that our Board of Education meeting is taking place on occupied indigenous land. We acknowledge the Tesuque Pueblo lands and other tribal lands on which we stand. We honor these people, past, present, and future. We acknowledge the history and ongoing colonization of where we are sitting right now in New Mexico and in our country. We acknowledge our own place in the story of colonization. Thank you very much. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Superintendent, do we need any changes?
Good evening, Board President Noble. No changes this evening.
Thank you very much.
Madam President,
Yes.
I will move to approve the agenda because there is no one else here to do it.
Thank you, Vice President Bush.
I will second.
Thank you, Secretary Anderson. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed or otherwise? Okay, we have approved the agenda. Thank you very much. Moving on to introduction of interpreter. Superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble, members of the board. Please, Deputy Superintendent Romero.
Para asistencia con la traducción en español, el señor Lucero te ayudará.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent. Moving on to our school board showcase. And we begin tonight with our Early College Opportunities High School in our showcase. Superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble. With us tonight making introductions is Assistant Superintendent Mr. Michael Hagley.
Good evening, Board President Noble, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Joshua Ryan, Principal at Early College Opportunities High School.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Board President Noble, board members, Superintendent Chavez. I'd like to introduce Ms. Marisa Campos, design teacher at Eco High School.
Hi, good evening, President Noble, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. My name is Marisa Campos. I am the instructor of the Art and Design pathway at Early College Opportunities. How can I click forward? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. So I'm just going to talk very briefly about our pathway. So like I said, I am the instructor for the art and design pathway. Our pathway comprises of 4 courses. So we basically learn about the introduction to design. We learn Photoshop and Illustrator and graphic design. We then take that and learn 2-dimensional design that turns into 3 dimensions through the use of laser cutting. And then we learn about 3-dimensional design and modeling in the form of 3D printing. So one thing to know is that all 4 courses in our pathway are dual credit courses with IAIA. So if a student goes through all 4 courses in the pathway, they will come away with 12 college credits at a 4-year college. We are very fortunate to have lots and lots of really amazing equipment, including 7 3D printers and a really beautiful laser cutter. And we just had a bunch of academic gaming computers installed in our room, so we are very excited. I'm going to introduce 2 students who are going to speak to you about their experience with the pathway and all of the amazing resources that we have. So I have Enrique, who's a member of the board, and then I also have Rio, and they're going to come up here and speak to you guys.
All right. Greetings. I am Enrique Agner Herrera, and I am in Ms. Campos's design class. Right, a little closer. All right, there we go. Let's see. So so I've been attending our class for 3 semesters now, and like throughout the semesters, I have learned quite a bit about design. In the first semester, I learned about Photoshop design, and I got acquainted with a lot of software and design principles. Let's see, in the second semester, we started on the laser cutting, which is rather fun. We used Adobe Illustrator to create 2D designs that we sent to our laser cutter that we used to cut designs like you can see in front of you. Let's see. So that one in particular is a shadow box based on the text next to it. It's an excerpt from The Great Sea Serpent by Hans Christian Andersen. The project is about interpreting the text interpreting the text and creating a project off of that. And let's see, this next one is a box that we had to design. Let's see, each facing component, and the difficult part of this project was making all the parts slide together and slot together correctly. So there's a lot of different size changes, especially the joints I chose to add on my box. Let's see, they fit together in a unique way that's creates a very tight fit, but they're difficult to size correctly with the correct materials. Let's see. In the next semester of in this semester is the 3D printing portion of the class, and we have been working on 3D printing with the printers that our board has so graciously allowed us to have. Let's see. This project in particular was creating a box. I really liked the engine on the top. I designed a plane engine with actual turbine inside. You can't see it based on the angle of the image, but let's see. That's what I created for this project. Let's see. Oh, all right. This next one is my most recent project. This is an earring / ornament, based on the scale that I created. So, and I like this one in particular because the design holds itself up. Part of the issue with 3D printing is that it can't really do overhangs, right? At some point, if you're doing something flat like this, you might have noticed in the previous one there was a serious overhang that caused some droopy stuff. But this one in particular, you don't need any supports. The design holds itself up very nicely, so it doesn't need any supports or bridging to hold itself up. There's also an issue one of these ones closer to the foreground was cut in half. That's because it got disconnected from the printing bed due to the very small points that it was the entire weight of it was on one single point, which caused it to break. So I had to slice a layer off the bottom of it so it had a larger bed to print on, which it was a little hard to getting to that point, but yeah. And let's see, another thing is the software, which, let's see, definitely has a steep learning curve. There's like a first initial month when you start using it where it's like, which tool does which thing? How do I create exactly my idea? But, yeah, it's great, and thank you. Thank you. Like, once again, my name is Enrique Aguilar Herrera, and I am in Ms. Campos's design program.
Here, let me crouch down a bit. Hello, my name is Rio Ryan, and I have been taking Ms. Campos's design class for 3 semesters now. And the first semester was just getting to learn the software, really. That was getting to learn Photoshop in particular. And that was a very good first time to get used to how the computers were acting, find out all the quirks of the computers before we moved on to more complex stuff. Now the second semester we were using Illustrator along with a laser cutter. You can see up on the board here, this is my one of my projects for Ms. Campos. We were to design a board game. Right there, that is checkers. Kind of hard to see from this angle, but yes, that is indeed checkers. We used the laser cutter along with some, what's it called? Wood dye, or not wood dye, but no, what is it? Stain, yeah. So that's basically it for that. And then for the third semester, which is what we're going through now, we are using the 3D printer. This right here is this is my final project actually with the with the Illustrator. This right here is the same project as Enrique's, where you had to find a piece of text and then visualize that piece of text and then put it into a image, right? So this right here is a light box, and this piece of text specifically is from World War Z, a Max Brooks novel. And I really tried my hardest to describe how this particular book is describing a zombie apocalypse in the modern day. And this particular scene describes how a horde of zombies is overtaking a highway. So I tried my best to illustrate how that would look. This right here is one of my first projects on the 3D printer. One thing on the 3D printer that I have to say is sometimes the tolerances for the actual printing itself is not the best. It's still a developing technology, so we have to be aware of that. But overall, it still turned out pretty well, if you ask me. This right here was my attempt to create a D&D sort of character with the 3D printer. As you can see here, I had several difficulties. It's kind of broken, but don't worry about that. It will be fixed, I promise, eventually. You can see on the very right-hand side that one has a lot of supports. That one was mainly there to show the power of supports in this whole 3D printing. So you heard Enrique earlier talk about how his design did not use supports at all. Well, mine is a little bit more complex than that, so I got to use a couple. And yeah, one problem I've come across, well, not problem, but one quirk of the programming we're using is there's something called forms. Now, forms are a lot more, or a lot less restrictive, but they're a lot more finicky than using the other sorts of programming on that software. So, as you can see with the left two, the forms don't always become thick enough to support themselves and break off quite easily in some cases. All right, thank you for listening to my presentation on my 3D design. You guys have a nice night.
I just want to follow up my students by saying thank you for all the support that we've had. I've only been in the district for 2 years, and the support's amazing. I invite anybody who wants to stop by our studio and check out the work their students are doing anytime. So they're happy to talk about their work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have a question for you before you go too far. Go ahead, Vice President Buzze.
Thank you, Madam President. I actually have two questions. One is, what is the software you're using for your 3D printing?
Well, the software we are currently using is something called Fusion 360. It is a CAD program, and that's about all I know about it.
Okay. And then my other question maybe is something for the administration to consider. I don't know if anyone's looked into getting professional certification options for the students at ECO. I know that Adobe has one. Okay, so that would be really cool because those are professional certifications that they can use to launch careers. And I love that we're teaching our high schoolers how to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. As a previous board member said, every time ECO comes, we all want to go to ECO because there are so many fun things to say. Yes, go ahead.
I apologize, I went and sat down, but we're currently working with Miss Massey and other district partners, and we're actually exploring all opportunities for certifications, because as you heard, our school has dual credit, but we're feeling like certifications are going to help our students join the workforce and do things. There's students that we all know that do not want to go to college or don't, have the desire, but they want to have, great careers. So we're exploring in all different avenues currently we're actually certifying students in our welding class, and we're looking at any opportunities to certify students with the programming that we have right now. So the answer is yes, we're just kind of in the infancy stages of figuring out what types of certifications.
And Vice President Bose, just to add that, and thank you, Principal Ryan, we're working to develop a partnership with the New Collar Network so that they can receive badges from MIT. So not only for students, but also for staff.
Super cool. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody from ECO. Again, really appreciate the presentations and you all coming tonight. It's great to hear it. Okay, moving on to our second school board showcase, the Gonzalez Orchestra and Choir Superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble. And with us, as always, is our music coordinator. There she is, Miss April Pickrell. I knew she was there by the music.
Welcome, Ms. Pickrell, as ever.
Thank you. I'm not as tall as that last guy. Thank you, guys. Before we begin with our showcase, I would like to congratulate all of the high school students that earned a position in the New Mexico All-State Ensembles. We had students from Santa Fe High School, Capitol High School, and Mandela. There was a total of 43 positions earned by the students in all of the different ensembles. Last year we had 29, but this year we had 43. Congratulations to the students and teachers. Their hard work really shows. So, yay. Tonight, the Gonzalez Community School showcases the middle school choir and orchestra students. They are taught by husband and wife team, John Toronto and Elizabeth Young. Both John and Elizabeth spent more than a decade in New York City working as professional musicians and teachers, as well as performing and teaching around the world. They bring their expertise and years of experience to the classroom by creating collaborations and opportunities for their students to share their work with their school and their local community. Their upcoming performances include Santa Fe Place Mall, Meow Wolf, and San Miguel Chapel. Please enjoy this performance of the song You Raise Me Up. It's a tearjerker. Get your Kleenexes out. Arranged by Elizabeth Young.
Thank you very much. What a beautiful arrangement, Ms. Young. That was a tearjerker.
It does say push. Besides acknowledging our wonderful parents, teachers, staff, our principal, and those who are here to support this group of students, we couldn't do this without them. I wanted to acknowledge one particular person tonight who is a volunteer, who comes to my classroom multiple times per week to work with these students, who is an accomplished violinist on her own right. Because I'm really pregnant, I have a hard time breathing, so here's why I'm like doing this. But her name is Jessica Smucker. Where are you, Jessica? She spends hours a week in my classroom. There it is. Hours a week in my classroom with these students, giving them specialized help and attention. She's really an asset to our school, to these students, to our district, and I just wanted to make sure I brought that to your attention. So thank you, everybody. I'm so proud to have these students here with us tonight.
Thank you very much to all of you. This is such a strong showing by Gonzalez tonight. It's beautiful. And thank you to family members. I know there's a lot of concerts this time of year. And for shuffling them around and sharing the joy of the music with us. Thank you, Principal Chris Lopez, for all your great work at Gonzalez. And just to say, as the superintendent reminded me, Elizabeth Young was recognized as a Teachers Who Inspire by Partners in Education very recently. And having had some personal experience with how she can inspire students, we know it's true. So again, thank you, families. Thank you, students. Thank you, Ms. Young. Bye. Good to see you. Okay. Moving swiftly along. A few folks still left. Okay. We are now at public forum. Superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble. Mr. Donarski, our Public Information Officer, will walk us through public forum this evening.
Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, Superintendent Chavez. Now that the room is cleared out, my nerves have finally gone away. There is no one signed up for public forum comment tonight.
And no reason to be nervous. Thank you. Okay. Then we have our union update, Roman numeral 5 on our agenda, and President Grace Mayer of NEA Santa Fe is here.
I didn't send it in time.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm old school today. Have hard copies. But it's kind of an obstacle course.
Welcome, President Mayer.
Thanks. Good evening. I'm Grace Mayer, NEA Santa Fe president and our teacher at Milagro Middle School. So there's a couple of things that I'm passing out to you guys to look at. It's all around NEA New Mexico's legislative priorities and our 80-20 campaign. This little sheet here is for our 80/20 campaign for school employees to urge state leaders to fully fund the 80/20 rule during the 23 session. We know that you guys support this initiative, and we're hoping maybe some of our student members might want to have your friends, your family sign this petition to have our educators receive additional benefits that are paid by the state so that our health insurance costs go down. So it makes it more affordable for people to, have a family in Santa Fe, which all of you guys know, I'm sure, from your parents, how challenging that is to raise a family in New Mexico and to make sure they're happy and healthy. And this will help with the district, because the district currently offsets some of our increases to our health insurance through bargaining, which is something they've done for 7 years. And around the state, that doesn't necessarily happen. So this is a statewide campaign to help all educators and all employees of public schools receive more funds. And so this is a petition that we'd like to get 10,000 signatures on. We're currently at 3 or 4. The session is 2 months away, so we have a little bit of time. So if you can share that widely, it would be good. So NEA New Mexico President Mary Parr Sanchez was asked to present at the LESC meeting for the Ed Partners, Education Partners, and this is her slide show. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I did want to just focus on community schools and talk about the Community School Act. Community schools are an evidence-based approach that can help the state improve the educational success of New Mexico children. National research finds that when well-designed and fully implemented, community schools increase student success and reduce gaps in both opportunity and achievement. The community school model has 6 essential elements. The first one is integrated systems of support. Second one is expanded enriched learning opportunities. The third one is empowering student and family engagement, which is something we really want to expand and have expanded at both Santa Fe High School and Milagro Middle School. Collaborative leadership, shared power, and a voice. There is all kinds of stakeholders involved in community schools, the business community, parents, and the students who actually attend the school through site leadership teams, and also our staff. And we're trying to encourage staff that don't normally have a leadership role to participate. Our secretaries are essential workers within the school that often folks don't necessarily ask their opinion directly, but we're trying to encourage them to be part of the site leadership teams at all our community schools. 5 is rigorous community-connected classroom instruction, and 6, culture of belonging, safety, and care. That's also something we're stressing coming through the pandemic and currently still, unfortunately, in a kind of a crisis of health issues, as you guys all know, because probably half your friends are homesick, or some of your teachers, and that's not great for all of us. But so the Community School Act in New Mexico was first passed in 2013, and then amended in 2019 to align with national research and best practices and to create a grant program managed by the New Mexico PED. Its purpose is to provide well-rounded educational opportunities and supports for student success in New Mexico. So we're asking that we maintain the current funding through the PED for those grants, but also expand funding and programming. I think it would be great if we kind of presented some of this work that we're doing to our legislators and to your family and folks so they can push that forward in the session, so we can make sure that we have the resources to keep our highly qualified coordinators at our schools in place, but also expand tutoring and other services, healthcare and wellness. Also, we have a folklorica program. There's all kinds of things that are happening that are exciting at Santa Fe High, at Milagro, and all our other schools that are community schools. And ideas are coming in every day of how to manage those programs and how to fully get the community involved so that we can make sure that our students are not only getting the academics they need, but all of the other relationship building, healthcare and sort of advocacy for them, and fun programming that keeps them engaged in school. And I hope that that we can make sure that the legislature does keep expanding the community school effort, and that Santa Fe Public School partners with us, as they have been, to make sure that those programs get put into place. I think there was one more thing I was going to discuss in our packet. We talked about a few other things. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I lost my place because I turned everything upside down. It's the week before break, and teachers and staff and students are really tired. Okay, some of our asks for the in our platform are also, everything was taken from a member survey that we put out, and our survey results found that a lot of our members are interested in expanding preparation time or collaboration time. And I know that in our school-wide effort to do that, I think that is pretty successful for secondary to have the release time. And I even believe that the students appreciate that time, but not entirely sure. Maybe they want to expand on it. But we hear from and it's an opportunity for us to bring in tutoring and other programs during that time as well. So I think it's a great effort to not only expand things for our students, but to make sure that collaboration time is real and happening, and it's really, the ideas are coming from the staff that are meeting there. I mean, we have on occasion, once a month, some district collaborative, like PD, which are happening on Wednesdays and on Fridays, which we've always really had, but they really didn't have a place in their schedule to really participate in them fully. They were usually after hours or try to fit in on a weekend. And, there are folks that don't have that kind of time to take away from their family, or they have another job where they can participate in, really effective PD and collaborative time. So I think that our push, in our unique kind of way that we approach some of these things in our district should be a model for the state to sort of say, okay, how do we embed this in the day, and how do we make it more, meaningful for our employees, but also how do we create opportunities for our students too, to have internships or other programs, to be paid for that tutoring that they're doing in some other areas too. So I think that we're on the right track, and I just hope that the legislature understands that and doesn't impose some of what they're presenting now, which you probably heard from Board Member Gonzalez. She was at the presentation by Secretary Steinhaus, and some of what they're pushing out isn't as friendly as I think what we had hoped. So that is my update for this evening. I would like for all of you to have a pleasant holiday, and for all of our employees listening, make sure you take care of yourselves and your family, and I wish you well in the new year. Unless there's questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions? No, I don't think we have questions. Appreciate the message that everyone needs to, get rest, take care of yourself during the holidays and the new year. You too, Grace. 6 more work days? Sorry, and counting. We could do it. All right, moving on to Roman numeral 6 on our agenda, our student board members' announcements and follow-up. Somebody want to go first? Feeling it? Mr. McGinnis.
Yep. Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent, and members of the board. So for some updates from Santa Fe High School, starting with the clubs, our National Honor Society Club is planning on hosting 2 events at Pete's Place this year on December 16th and 18th, where students will be able to bring homemade food to support the unhoused. In addition to cooking the food, the students will also be present as servers and serving the food. Additionally, our chess club is returning to Santa Fe High School this year and made its debut this Wednesday during lunch. On the sports front, our varsity boys basketball team placed 2nd in the Capital City tournament. Our NJROTC program also traveled to Colorado Springs for the Rocky Mountain Regional Civilian Marksmanship Regional Cup on December 3rd. And we received 1st place and 12th place for our 2 teams for the overall sporter award. We also were awarded 1st place, 2nd place, 4th place, and 7th place for our individual overall sporters. Our fabulous AP Physics teacher, Mr. Buell, and Ms. Noonan, our AP Environmental Science teacher, hosted a school science fair where students were able to receive criticism and advice on their projects and boards ahead of the regional science fair this past Monday. Santa Fe High School also hosted a flu and COVID-19 vaccine clinic this past week. And to round it all out, Santa Fe High School hosted a fabulous winter concert with performances from both the advanced orchestra and the choir as well this past week. That is all.
Lots going on. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Who's next, Mr. Aguirre-Herrera?
Yes. All right. Starting off with Desert Sage Academy. All right, so Desert Sage Academy is a new online school that is steadily enhancing its academic offerings as the school improves. One particular offering is our ability to offer dual credit for upperclassmen. DSA is fortunate to have Mr. Jonathan Hack, an adjunct SFPS professor that is teaching a new computer science course where DSA students can take courses for college credit with their current math teacher on campus. Number 2, DSA is also offering the Computer Hacking Club. Computer Club open to 7th through 12th graders, where students learn improve skills in information security and compete in national competitions like Cyber Patriot and National Cyber League. DSA, number 3, DSA held 2 community family engagement events that bring online communities safely together. Firstly, the Fall Festival Literacy Night on October. I talked about this event during the previous board meeting, but I think it bears repeating. Let's see. So this event included our middle school and senior mentors leading in preparing literacy stations designed to promote literacy for families, especially our elementary families. The event was Halloween themed and included our remote students with virtual programs celebrating fall. Let's see. Secondly, the Veterans Day event, DSA worked in tandem with Santa Fe High School to host a virtual and in-person solemn event to showcase our veterans and to reinforce the recognition that this day observed. Santa Fe High School ROTC performed a marching exhibition followed by the elementary music teacher played taps. Let's see, with 3rd to 6th graders to honor the event. 9th and 12th graders recited poems for the day, thanking the military veterans. And Principal Granado, a retired sergeant major in the U.S. Army, came dressed in his blues uniform and spoke to K-12 students via Google Meet. Updates from Mandela. The Mandela principal, Mr. Griot, says, we are excited for our craft fair on December 10th from 9 to 3 at Mandela. Let's see, please invite your friends and share the information with your contacts. Cash or check is most convenient, and there will be over 30 vendors as well as concessions. People can make a day of it and move between the Winter Wonderland Fair at Santa Fe High School. Stepping Up and Giving Back Week happens on December 12th through 16th. Every year except for the pandemic years, we've dedicated dedicated the last week of the first semester to a school-wide service learning experience. Our through line for this year is exploring the avenues that our community offers for cultural awareness, international mindedness, and service. The Mandela STEM team traveled to Las Cruces and presented their prototype as the New Mexico Governor's STEM Challenge. For the fourth year running, Mandela was a finalist. Let's see, there are no first, second, and third prizes, just finalists in this event. This is a huge credit to the science teacher, Mr. Larson, for doing this year after year. To our special ed gifted teacher, Mr. Nozel, hope I didn't mispronounce that, for helping carry this torch this year with Mr. Larson. Congratulations to our STEM Challenges participants. Charles Chapman, Glory Fowler, Isabella Krasilvorskaya, let's see, please, all right, Kai Hackler Brandt, Dylan Cosmo Mosconi, Cristiano Rivera, Tim Ryer, Emily Malvig, Elian Flores, Shanti Lambert, and Robin Hickerson. Thank you. News from my homeschool, Eco now. On December 1st, the acuplacer was administered by Santa Fe Community College for senior students. And the acuplacer is a permanent test for students entering college, and this is used to help students be more successful. On December 5th, acuplacers were administered for juniors, and then on December 6th, ELA 10 classes participants, English language arts, 10 classes participants in a mock trial presentation. Teachers, school staff, and district administration were invited to be jurors for this mock trial. I was in the trial, and I was defense, and I won. So
cool.
All right, so on Tuesday, on alternating Tuesdays, 1 week wellness, 1 week attendance, the Wellness Attendance Committee meets for final resources and support for students regarding their attendance and academics. Let's see, student emotional, physical, family, medical, and basic needs. Those on the team are the principal, counselor, English language arts teacher, and student engagement coordinator. Let's see, on Wednesdays, for 5 consecutive Wednesdays from mid-October through November 16th, I already went over this in the last meeting, but worth repeating. The students, select students have been participating in Pro Skills. Let's see, oops, I swiped up. All right, Pro Skills, which is a program that helps students learn important life skills, goals setting, and other skills that will help them obtain employment in the future. That is all. Quite a mouthful. Can I get some water? Let's see, all right, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and good job on all those names, and thank you for representing schools as well as yours. I appreciate that. It's really wonderful to hear. And last but certainly not least, an update from Capitol. Ms. Gallegos.
Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, Superintendent. I have a couple of announcements from Ms. T. Our CS students which stands for computing science. Showcased the last 2 projects during the STEM Pathways for Girls Conference at SFCC. Supercomputing challenges posted info about it on their website, and I have the website if anyone would like it. From Ms. Dickinson, WAVE, she runs a couple programs, so from her WAVE program, Capital WAVE team partnered with the New Mexicans to prevent gun violence to present activities for the school during Gun Violence Prevention Week, November 28th through December 2nd. Students created pinwheels for peace that became flowers in our display, growing up safe from gun violence. I got to make a flower, and I also got to paint my hand green and put it on the tree. It was really fun. They also signed the student pledge and then placed a handprint leaf on our community tree. On Friday, December 2nd, students attended assembly sponsored by NMPGV, featuring the coach of the New Mexico United sharing a message about preventing gun violence, and WAVE students shared the student pledge with their peers in English and in Spanish to encourage them to join with us to sign the student pledge to stay safe. Blah, blah, blah. For choir, Jesus Orona was selected as a second tenor for All-State Mixed Choir. He will represent Capital at the All-State Conference in Albuquerque on January 4th through January 7th. Capital Choir is hosting a holiday extravaganza, and we want to invite everyone in Santa Fe to attend our show. There's a few. On December 15th and 16th at 7 p.m., on December 17th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. We will be performing the children's holiday musical, Christmas at the OK Carol. Thank you. Our choir students have been working on a college and career readiness program project to learn about the many careers in the arts. So after the performance, please stay for our fun activities. We will be offering pictures with Santa with 4 background options, and you can get 2 5x7s for $15. They will be offering homemade bizcochitos for $5. I believe it's more than one. And hot cocoa for $2. And bilingual stories time with Mrs. Claus, featuring the story The Fajalitos of Christmas. The event is a fundraiser to support future musical experiences for our choir students, and we would love for it to become a tradition in our community. From Mr. Hernandez, our band director, Capital High School Band had 2 students make the All-State Band this year. Kimberly Durante on bassoon and Brian Avalos on oboe. Both students are in the Dream Big private lessons program, which helped them become successful on their auditions. From Mr. Marcus, our esports coach, both our esports, League of Legends, and Rocket League made it to the exhibition season playoffs. From Mr. Carlins, he received a grant from Partners in Ed to print his literary journal, Cecilia's Jungle. We have 3 issues so far. It will be placed in local bookstores. From Ms. Squires, one of our AVID teachers. So far, the following students in Capital AVID program have earned full ride scholarships for college: Damian Alameda, Destiny Leon, Zachariah Bruch, Allison Chavez, and Athena Grimley. And there's 2 more, but they weren't in AVID, so I didn't get their names. So sad. From Ms. Holiday, we had our first community resource fair on November 30th. We had a great turnout of community members and families who were able to learn about different resources within Santa Fe. We look forward to hosting similar events in the spring. On January 6th, we will have a SEL Day devoted to social and emotional well-being. This event will include motivational speakers and specialized activities. And then on December 2nd, which was last Friday, we had a gun violence awareness assemblies in collaboration with the Office of Student Wellness, our WAVE group, the New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence, and the New Mexico United Soccer. From Gear Up, which is gaining early awareness and readiness for undergraduate programs, November 30th through December 2nd, we had a student leadership conference, which I had the pleasure of attending. We had to practice for like 3 weeks our roll call, because when we first got there, they asked each district to perform a chant. And I will say we won, and we got to eat dinner first. It wasn't just a boring 1, 2, 3 Capitol. It was a full performance, and they should be posting it on Capitol's Facebook page. So if anyone would like to see it, it was 3 days of staying in a hotel, but it wasn't just staying in a hotel. When we first got there, we had 2 keynote speakers, and they talked to us about their experiences in life, and they didn't leave out like the bad parts. They encouraged it. And so we had speakers from Cool Speak, and one of them talked about poetry and his poem, My Grandfather's Garden. I can't seem to remember his name. I don't remember why. And then we had another one talk to us, Miss Lily. She talked to us about her experience growing up with just her father, and she talked to and she read her, I can't remember if it was a story or poem, My Father's Daughter, or I Am My Father's Daughter. And then day 2, we started our workshops, and the workshops were based off of different things. We had mindfulness, we had self-advocacy, we had scholar dollars, and in the self-advocacy, we had little debates, and it was like real life situations, and you only got like a little sentence, and you had to come up with like the back history. And on one of them, it was a friend made a company of mowing, taking care of senior citizens' lawns, and his other friend, when he asked his friend for help, his friend kind of got annoyed, and he didn't know why. And on the other paper, it said that we felt annoyed that our friend wasn't spending enough time with us and rather go help senior citizens instead of spend time with us. And we had a debate about it, and it was pretty fun. And then we had a poetry workshop, and we wrote poetry. And for me, it's really hard to write, but they gave us like sentence starters, and it was really fun. And then we had a dance on day 2, and that was really fun. And then day 3, we had the closing session, and throughout the whole time, they were taking pictures of us. And when they separated us into different groups: teal, gold, red, and black. Capital was black team, and we were paired with Mountain Air and the Gear Up family's kids. So it was really fun, and we ended up incorporating the Gear Up family into our table. So they had a lot of fun. They didn't have to sit with their parents the whole 3 days. And then we had to come up with our own little goal as a team, a little chant as a team, and we had to perform it. And then on day 3, they showed us a video of all the pictures they took of us, and it was so cool. And then, let's see, finally from wrestling, which I'm also a part of, December 3rd, we had the Jaguar Invite, which was hosted at Capitol. And we currently have 6 girls on the girls team. We have 10 boys on varsity and 5 on JV, just because the weights don't match up, so we have double weights, so they have to be on JV. At the JAG Invite, we had a total of 5 champions, which means they were the first placers for their weight class, and we had 4 placers. I'm not sure which places they got specifically, but it was first and fourth got a medal. And our very own Sebastian Madrid won the Boys Outstanding Wrestler Award, so that was very nice. Yesterday night, we had a duel against Los Alamos. It was very, very long. Very, very tired. Our JV and our girl team won. Yay. And then tomorrow, we have to be at school at 6:30 in the morning because we are traveling to Miramar High School in Gallup for the Battle of the Honor, where the boys will have duels and the girls will have brackets. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. So much going on. Appreciate that. Really robust updates again. And that conference sounds amazing. All right. And I understand that Dr. Veronica Garcia has maybe reached out to you all. Has that happened yet? Maybe not.
No, but she will.
Okay.
As you mentioned, Lisa, you want to participate in surveying for the reimagining work, and I think you did as well, didn't you? Yeah, and so we spoke to our previous superintendent, Dr. Veronica Garcia, and she's going to be reaching out to collaborate with you guys to include student voice.
Yes, thank you.
And just to say, again, I think we've probably said it before, but we really appreciate and need your help with this. So thank you for being willing to be engaged and, you know, work with Dr. Garcia. And we know you'll do great work. Appreciate it. All right. Any other follow-up or updates?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to board announcements and follow-up. Any board announcements and follow-up?
Madam President?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a couple updates. First of all, I wanted to give a brief update on the CRC meeting that we had in November. We discussed briefly the departure of Maureen Cashman from the committee, and all expressed deep gratitude for her years of service, both on the committee as well as on the board. We discussed reallocation of some 2021 GO bond money for the Santa Fe High School Phase 2, which you'll see on the agenda as our action item B. We got some general 2021 GO bond budget updates. There's just so many incredible projects happening in the district right now. I always get really excited about the sustainability projects, and I think there are more outdoor classrooms happening, and I think that that's really exciting and wonderful, as well as the committee discussed the joint study session with the board in early 2023. So that's my CRC update, and I also wanted to give a shout out to the El Dorado Community School, where I saw the students' performance of the Nutcracker this week. It was second and third grade performing a really cool adaptation that's done every other year by the music teacher, Miss Samuth. And this year, the middle school orchestra played as well, and they were also phenomenal. And I just get really excited every time I see the passion that our teachers have for the work that they're doing. And the kids were just super engaged, and this is the third time I've seen it, and it just never gets old. It's beautiful, and I so appreciate all the work that's gone into that and all the support from everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I will just do one other quick update, which is that 4 of us on the board were able to attend the New Mexico School Boards Association. I think this one was the annual conference as opposed to 2 of the others. And we were, as has been announced in any number of forums, awarded the School Board of the Year for large districts. So that was very nice. And there was a lunch with chicken and everything. And again, Superintendent, thank you for the nomination and the partnership with you and your team. We also heard updates from both Secretary Steinhaus and the Director of the Legislative Education Study Committee, Dr. Gwen Warnament, as to what is happening for the legislative session, a lot of which has been reasonably widely reported in terms of looking for increased instructional minutes, increased funding to meet the mandates of the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit, and other things. So it's always good to also connect with other school board members from around the state. And just to say that many of the things, including community schools and standards-based grading and instruction, are things that we see, and when you get the lens through the Statewide School Boards Association, that this district continues to lead the way. So really appreciate all of your work here in the room and everyone who supports you in that work, because it is clear we are blazing trails and wonderful. So thank you all. And I think that's all I have. So we will go ahead and move on to Roman numeral 8, superintendent announcement, updates, and follow-up. Secretary Anderson texted that she was going to drop off and we should call her back with the action items because, of course, she couldn't see or really experience the school board showcase, unfortunately. So we do not currently have a quorum, but we are continuing. So on to updates, superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble, members of the board. You took my first update. Congratulating you guys once again. So great honor for you guys to be recognized. And as you mentioned, you know, it's a great partnership between the board and the staff and our teachers. And without you guys, all of the amazing initiatives that we've pushed forward, that we continue to become innovative with, really goes to you guys and your credit and support. So anytime I get the chance, I always promote you guys in the partnership and also the driving force behind all of it. So I want to say thank you. Just a reminder, this Friday at 9 o'clock, this Friday at 6 o'clock. I got the date wrong. It said December 9th. December 9th at 6 o'clock, the live airing of the State of the Schools address. So I want to thank Mr. Donarski, our PIO. He had to step away from the board meeting to finish editing because it goes live tomorrow. So he's under pressure. But again, I want to thank everybody who participated. But again, it's about celebrating all of the great initiatives, some of the stuff you'll hear tonight again through the presentation. And want to thank everybody who helped record. So State of the Schools, December 9th, 6 p.m. on YouTube, our YouTube channel. The 2023 Davis, New Mexico Scholars, we want to congratulate 11 students who were scholars this year. From Capitol High School, Damian Barre, Zachariah Birch, Allison Medente, Destiny Leon, Viviana Ornelas, Ramon Tavares. From Mandela, Cassandra Perez. From Santa Fe High, Stephanie Zambrano, Ivan Ortega, Valeria Ramirez, Molly Wiseman. So we want to congratulate all of the students for receiving that Davis Scholar. As we heard from our presentation about 3D printing, and it was part of one of my updates as well, 16 of our digital learning coaches and technology staff participated in advanced 3D printing training on December 5th. The training was provided by the Fab Lab at the Higher Ed building and allows our coaches to better support teachers in integrating 3D printing in our classrooms. Each person left with a Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT badge, and this badge is part of the same program our students can go through to earn an MIT 3D micro-credentialing. We're working on a partnership with the Higher Ed Department and Sarah Bosvay. I probably pronounced her name incorrect, but we're working on a partnership to really explore furthering 3D printing for students and staff. We also want to announce that we were very excited and happy to announce Mr. David Vincent as the new directing principal of Santa Fe High. As many of you may or may not know, he was the interim principal as we were doing the search. So we announced that to staff last week and also to the community. So I want to congratulate David Vincent on a job well done. And lastly, as we have always been talking about expanding pathways for our students, our team, many of them sitting over there on those tables, are working with Santa Fe Community College on exploring the possibilities of expanding pathways for our secondary students in the areas of TV and film and early childhood education. So we're continuing to work and moving towards these initiatives that were brought forward by the board. So that does conclude my updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the updates? Okay, moving swiftly along. we will go to our presentation. First semester recap leading through innovation. Superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble, members of the board. Again, in the spirit of celebration, we're going to quickly summarize and recap our first semester. Really, it's 6 months, July through December. And again, we've titled it Leading Through Innovation. As you've heard from many of the speakers this evening, Santa Fe Public Schools is cutting edge and leading in innovation. Next slide, please. Some cornerstone initiatives, as you've heard, standards-based grading and learning. We heard this at the School Boards Association meeting last week as well, and we're starting to see other districts and even the public education department starting to explore this. We're very unique in it, and I feel that we're 2+ years ahead of where other districts are, because it did take a lot of time to get this implemented. We have 13 of our schools fully implementing, with the remaining 15 coming on board next year. Of course, our Early Childhood Center, which we'll talk about a little later, which is also included in our legislative priorities. So is work-based learning, summer programming. So I think it was the LESC platform, may have been the PED platform, talking about funding for summer programming. So this is a way for us to really replace the ESSER and look at state dollars to provide summer programming moving forward. Leveraging ESSER for teachers to gain licensure, not only the alternative, but also to become TESOL and bilingual endorsed. And also the Be Visible Attendance Initiative. And we'll talk about it a little later, but we have made a 7% positive impact with this initiative. So we are seeing positive gains. Next slide, please. Again, for the third time, we want to congratulate you as the Board of the Year for large districts. We want to applaud Acequia Madre Elementary for being named the 2022 National Blue Ribbon School. Also celebrating Tara Hughes as the New Mexico Teacher of the Year for 2023, and also she is now nominated to become the National Teacher of the Year. She is also the first early childhood educator in the state of New Mexico to receive this award. Implementing standards-based instruction to further equity and learning for students. This is also an innovative way to address the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit. Again, moving on with our successes, achieving childcare for Santa Fe Public Schools by launching the Early Childhood Center. We also received our license by the state in October, mid-October, so now we are fully licensed and the only fully licensed district-operated childcare center in the state of New Mexico. Undertaking the reimagining of the Santa Fe Public Schools, a board priority and initiative, which we'll hear maybe an update a little later in the program. And our next meeting is next week, which is the third Thursday of every month. Ensuring that students attend school each day through Santa Fe Public Schools' new Be Visible initiative. And as I mentioned, we have seen a 7% positive impact from students who had been chronically absent. So again, we also know if you're not in school, you're not learning, so we're making positive gains with this initiative. Breaking ground, as we've mentioned, for the new state-of-the-art Early College Opportunities High School. If you've passed by on Zia, yeah, raising your hand, it looks great. They're making a lot of progress, and we're hoping to be ready to open in August of 2023, hoping, weather permitting. Setting a best example for the nation, acknowledged by First Lady Dr. Jill Biden and U.S. Secretary of Education Dr. Miguel Cardona, on our use of ESSER funding and all of the innovative programs that we've implemented for using our ESSER funding. So again, we were one of 15 model districts mentioned across the United States, and I was one of 2 superintendents that got to participate on this call with the White House. So great accomplishment by the team, by the Board of Education, and by the district. Leveraging ESSER funds, again, for teacher licensure, exciting summer programming, to include our newcomer language academy. So again, we'll continue to push forward, trying to leverage not only ESSER funding, but hopefully state funds to expand our summer programming. This past year, we had 33 programs that we offered with 2,600 students participate, which was about 21% of our student enrollment, all on a voluntary basis. Next, oh, there we go. We also got to present to the LESC, which is the Legislative Education Study Committee, on all of the broad and robust internship programs that we have in place, attendance initiatives, standards-based learning, our child care. So it was a great opportunity to really promote and show all the great things happening in Santa Fe Public Schools. Shifting the district's goal for secondary education from preparing graduates to be college or career ready to being college and career ready. As we said, we're exploring additional options to expand the offerings to secondary students, but this also goes in conjunction with reimagining Santa Fe Public Schools. So it's all interconnected and it's all tied together. We also participated in a robust CCTE program study, which included surveying and conducting focus groups with parents, students, business partners, and that led us to really identify and maybe even rebrand what we offer. So again, it's in partnership with Santa Fe Community College and other higher ed partners that we want to really bring to the district to enhance what we can offer. Engaging with employees to determine the need for current and future work-based skills. This is around our work-based learning program and also our internships. So not just settling on what we currently have to offer, but expanding and exploring different options for students to get involved. With state and local government, we have an intern in our mayor's office. We also have an intern in our early childhood center. So we're looking at not only internal internships, but external and also partnerships in the tech world is on the horizon. Working with Santa Fe Public Schools local post-secondary partners, as we mentioned, to align pathways to more than 25 certificate and degree programs. We're also working on a partnership with Santa Fe Community College to include more of their instructors to offer instruction in our schools at no cost or no additional FTE required by the district. Again, we talked about the robust menu of job shadowing and mentorship and internship opportunities, adding 2 student internship positions across our departments, so that includes internal, and using PLC, or professional learning communities, as President Grace Mayer mentioned, to build a shared understanding of instruction. It is built into the teacher's contract. I think we're one of the few districts across the board. We also partner what we call sister schools, small schools that do not have 2 or more teachers at that grade level or content level with other schools in the district, so they can collaborate and really have think partners in this work. Bringing theory to practice through teacher coaching and math instruction to meet student and teacher needs, so providing support in the area of math. Also, we had a math adoption, but really focusing in on math and literacy as the state is as well. We now have expanded restorative justice to middle school, so all levels have a restorative justice coordinator, secondary, middle school, and elementary. And as we mentioned to the board early on, applying more than $3.4 million of federal emergency connective funds to meet broadband connectivities. We are also thinking we're going to receive another reimbursement of about $200,000, so that would bring the total reimbursement from the state to $3.6 million for connectivity and broadband. We continue to hold community-wide COVID testing and vaccine clinics. As I mentioned to the board, we are hosting one here at ESC tomorrow, ensuring that all schools participate in the Say Something anonymous reporting system, with students at the 6th grade level and up trained on how to use this reporting system. It's really helped. We really want to thank parents and students for helping us address some of the issues that they report through this anonymous reporting system, because it really helps to have eyes and ears in the schools, as you guys are the ones that usually hear first and more information than we do, so we appreciate the partnership in this. We presented to the board joining innovative national pilot around iCivics, and it really is about U.S. history curriculum for 8th grade, but hands-on learning. As we talked about, we're trying to explore different options to really expand our offerings, expand our techniques, but it really is hands-on learning, and it's with 2 other states that are participating in this joint initiative. We will continue to plan for additional community schools. We are adding Kearney Elementary, Milagro, Nino Otero, and planning for Chaparral and Amy Bill. As part of our platform as well, we want to move the below-the-line funding to above the line, and we'll talk about that a little later. When it's below the line, when that grant expires, it is the responsibility of the district to absorb the cost to include the coordinator salary. So we want to ask the state to move that above the line. And that concludes our celebration of the first semester of the 22-23 school year. And we want to thank everybody at that table. They've done a lot of the work, our school board, and also our students. So I want to thank you. Without this entire team, it would not be possible. So it's a team and joint effort.
You're welcome.
Madam President?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Superintendent, I was wondering if you know anything about COVID testing continuing into the new year. There's been some rumors that that's going to shut down at the end of December, and I didn't know if that related to us or not.
Yeah, thank you, Board President. I'm sorry, Vice President. I'm still trying to get the titles correct. Bose. So initially, we were notified by the state that the testing would not continue. It's continuing through December. We are looking at exploring testing possibilities throughout next semester. We know it's not only for our students, but also our staff members, and a lot of our community members have participated. Some of the reasoning we receive is because there's a lot of home testing available, but we want to continue to try to offer live testing. It's really done wonders for us and for our community, so we'll continue to explore providing that offering.
Thank you.
Any other questions on our Leading Through Innovation first semester? Thank you for that incredible list. It's nice to see it all in one place because it has been quite a semester already. Okay, we will go ahead and move on. I'm going to take a moment to reach Secretary Anderson. Okay, Roman numeral 10, our action items. We start with the consent agenda. Anything board members want to consider separately or ask questions on? And if not, is there a motion?
Madam President,
Yes.
I did have a question on one of the contracts over $60,000. The second to last for IT Connect, I really just was trying to have understanding about what this was when it says 2 camera job upgrades. And I was wondering if someone knew what that was.
Thank you, Board Vice President Bose. So what we're doing is trying to look at areas in our schools that may need an upgraded camera. Could be more of a 360 lens or a 180, but also upgrading to the newer technology so we can provide additional safety and security to our schools.
Wonderful, thank you so much. In that case, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Bose, a second by Secretary Anderson. I also just want to note that in the budget adjustment requests, we are increasing funding for community schools, both a planning grant and an implementation grant, which is great to see. Okay, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. Approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed or otherwise? Thank you. We have approved the consent agenda. Moving on to action item B, the 2021 GO bond reallocation in support of the Santa Fe High School Commons project. Superintendent.
Thank you, Board President Noble. With us tonight is Deputy Superintendent Wagner and her team.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent. We actually have a recommendation this evening from our Community Review Committee. So I'll call up April Gallegos in just a moment to present that to you. But we are about midway through our Santa Fe High School Phase 2 Commons project, and that's the build-out of the Cafeteria Commons, otherwise known as the cafeteria. We're very excited about that work. Hopefully you can see it on the hill, or if you're up at Santa Fe High School driving by. In May, we notified the Community Review Committee and the board that there was some cost escalation and we needed to improve our budget some. We did an increase in June. I think we came to a board meeting in May or June. And at that time, we also told the committee and the board we wanted to get some final pricing for one more ask to complete the project. So we've done that final pricing, and it's for things we call soft cost. In this case, that's the furniture that will be in the commons and some of the kitchen equipment, and some final contracts with our partner contractors. So our total ask is to close the budget gap about $1.9 million. And I will have Ms. Gallegos come up and explain how that was received by the committee and their recommendation to the board. Sorry, go ahead.
Board members, board president, vice president, superintendent, I'd like to introduce April Gallegos. She's been a Citizens Committee review member for approximately 3 years, and she's been very helpful in the process that we've done over that time period, and we're very fortunate to have her working with us. So with that introduction, please go ahead, April.
Thank you, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Board President Noble and members of the board and Superintendent Chavez. So as Gabe and Deputy Superintendent Wagner said, I'm a member of the Community Review Committee, and I'm here to just help inform your decision to make the reallocation of the close to $1.9 million from the contingency fund of the 2020-21 GO bond, so that move that over into the Phase 2 of the Santa Fe High School project. So as Christy said, Deputy Superintendent Wagner, the CRC first learned of this spring. They let us know that costs were escalating a bit and they were going to have an additional ask for the budget to be able to complete the project. So thankfully we're nearing the end of that project, and now we have a hard number, which is that 1.8 million plus. And the CRC unanimously recommended to recommend this to the board for you all to consider and help us complete the project. So we asked a lot of questions in our CRC. We asked, what if this isn't approved? Because this money is going to practically zero out our contingency fund. So all future projects would have to be within budget to be completed or under budget. And so we said, what would happen, if we decided not to do this and leave some money in contingency? And unfortunately, then there would not be any furniture or equipment or anything inside of the building of the commons. So that's one of the reasons why we recommended to make this reallocation. And then also we asked about the use of existing furniture and equipment that's currently being used at Santa Fe High, and if any of that was reusable. And they said that some is, very little unfortunately, but where they can reuse furniture, they certainly are. So they're being very mindful of that, which we appreciated. And then to address the contingency fund being zeroed out, we also asked staff what will happen if there's another project that needs additional funds. And they said that they anticipate having some savings in other projects to be able to move into contingency and help other projects that might be a little bit more expensive. So that will sort of balance itself out and wash in the future is what they feel will happen. And let's see, what else did we ask? Yeah, and that covered actually all of our questions, and staff positively responded. So we are here to make that recommendation and ask you to make the approval, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you
you.
for coming. Any questions from the board on this item?
Madam President?
Go ahead, Vice President Bose.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Secretary Anderson and I both sat through that meeting, and I think we felt like all of the questions were answered satisfactorily. So I would like to make a motion to approve this 2021 GEO bond reallocation to support the completion of the Santa Fe High Commons project.
I'll second.
Excellent. We have a motion by Vice President Bose, a second by Secretary Anderson. Any further discussion?
Madam President?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a thank you to the CRC and to the staff for being so thoughtful about this. I know that these are hard decisions having to be made with construction funding, and I really appreciate the diligence with which the committee worked.
Absolutely. I second that emotion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed or otherwise? Okay, thank you very much. We've approved the reallocation.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a good break.
Okay, moving on to item 11, board discussion and possible action. 2023 legislative priorities. I'd love to, in this section, get back to having board member names on these, so I know who to call on. Who do I call on for this? You? Okay. Superintendent.
Yeah, thank you, Board President Noble. I did meet with Secretary Anderson and also Board Member Dr. Carmen Gonzalez, along with some of staff members of mine, our Chief of Staff Ruth Williams, and also our legal counsel, Mr. Josh Granada. And we came up with our legislative priorities that we will present January 5th to our delegation during our legislative breakfast. So just to recap, as our members are not presently here, and I do not want to ask Secretary Anderson to present this, as she may be driving, and I want her to focus on traveling, and I'll briefly just recap, replacing federal elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds, which is better known as ESSER, and funding it through the state. So again, we know the cliff is coming. It's about a year and a half away, and we are hoping that the state looks at all the great initiatives that we've implemented by using it and provide state fundings for it. Our next item is funding our Early Childhood Center. This program is currently being supported by ESSER at about $1.4 million, and it includes 11 FTEs, which are our employees. So again, this is another thing that we want to push forward as far as state funding for our Early Childhood Center. As we mentioned earlier, above the line funding for community schools, it is currently funded below the line, and when it expires, as I mentioned, the district is responsible for picking up the costs of the coordinators or other materials that may come along with implementing a community school program. So again, it's a game changer. It's allowing us to support students, further teaching and learning through community school coordinators, and also offer programs and activities that President Grace Mayer mentioned earlier. State funding for our work-based learning program. Again, as we're talking about this, we're talking about all the initiatives that we started through ESSER funding. So we're hoping that the state recognizes the importance of work-based learning, and we can work with them collaboratively to provide state funding to be able to continue with this opportunity to move forward. Another example of what we need from the state when ESSER expires is to provide additional funding for our work-based learning coordinator. So the coordinator of this program is also funded through ESSER. And those of you up here can really read the descriptions as we present it to all of you. I'm just recapping at a high level. allowing 17-year-olds to vote. Although the federal voting age is 18, a third of the states, including New Mexico, let those who are 17 but will be 18 by the general election vote in primaries. However, New Mexico voters must be 18 to participate in all other elections. So we're hoping for them to bring some attention to this. As we know, we've passed a resolution. You heard from our president of the union, Ms. Grace Mayer, about the 80-20 rule when it comes to employee benefits. So we're just listing this as another priority, a resolution the board adopted and passed, and really asking the state to take a deeper look at it. We are not the only district with this as a priority in their platform. Many other districts across the state are also using this as an initiative that they're pushing forward. Again, tied to a gun resolution that we passed earlier this semester, creating a New Mexico Office of Gun Violence Prevention, a common sense child access prevention or CAP law, and raising the age of purchasing for certain rifles, creating a ban on assault-style weapons, and we are currently looking at the sale of guns within our a mile radius of our schools. So we're taking a deeper dive at this so we can prevent to our delegation some of the issues that we see when gun sales are so close to our school, similar to alcohol sale. And lastly, this was something that we thought was innovative and new, providing state funding and or incentives for school districts to implement alternative power sources. So since 2010, and this comes from Ms. Lisa Randall, natural gas use is down by 24%, and we use 60% less water. 25% of our electricity is generated from the sun or solar, and we buy 28% less electricity. We have 34% recycling rate, 30% less trash going into the landfill, and every day 70% of our food waste is collected and turned into compost. With rebates or initiatives, Santa Fe Public Schools could deploy more solar arrays and water catchment systems to support existing landscaping, purchasing electric fleet vehicles and school buses, and provide LED lighting retrofits throughout the district. So we thought this was a great initiative and something that we hope catches some steam. That is a high-level recap of our meeting and the platform that we are presenting to you tonight.
I have a couple questions. I don't know about you. So there's this first priority, which is a sort of blanket replacing ESSER funding with state funds. And then there are a couple specifics. Is that right?
You are correct, President Noble.
Okay. Which it just strikes me as we present this to our legislative delegation, it might make sense to sort of group that together because two of them kind of fit under the umbrella
Correct.
of one of them, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That first paragraph could be the umbrella, and then we list the subcategories or groups.
Yep. And I'm torn a little bit about it's helpful to see the amounts. It's helpful to see the amounts over a certain amount of time. That's very clear in the Early Childhood Center. The $21 million, which for one district would sound like a lot if you're going to do something like that for 89 districts. And I know that this is very often how legislators think, just in terms of, all right, what is the ask here?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of wondering, at a minimum, if we can put, that $21 million over how many years? I think
you're absolutely right. It is 3 years, 21 over 3. I was asked by the LESC, and they asked what would we need, and the range I gave them was 7 to 9 million annually.
Yeah. Okay, that's good, and that helps them. And if there's any description we can give is what we know about how ESSER funds were allocated, because ultimately I think they probably had something to do with our student population, and that's the math they'll be doing real quickly, because I'm trying to do it. I guess my other question is this meant to be in sort of a hierarchy of priorities, or?
No, not at this point. And if you prefer for us to reorder them, please let us know. This was something that we discussed early on in the week and put together for the meeting as a presentation.
Well, and just to say, and thank you to Secretary Anderson and Dr. Gonzalez and you and your team. It's a great list. I don't know if you have thoughts about this, Secretary Bose, but I do sort of think maybe the allowing 17-year-old, well, ultimately, the 80-20 and the gun violence prevention things are things that we have acted on.
Correct.
So I sort of want them to move up a little bit.
Okay.
In my gut. But otherwise, I think it's very good. I think the limiting the sale of guns to no closer than 1 mile from a school, yeah, should be researched. It may be a good idea. There are so many weird land use regulations out there.
Yeah, we also thought it would be good to speak with the city about this.
Yep. We would want that if the shoe was on the other foot,
Correct.
so to speak. I think that is all, and I appreciate the, again, sort of ESSER versus above the line movement of funding. And did you have any discussion on some of these bigger pieces? And I'm just wondering, bigger pieces that are moving, such as, sort of fully funding, I don't know if we know what that number is, but fully funding the response to Yazzie Martinez, some of what the PED is bringing forward. And the other big one that occurs to me just as a real systemic problem is housing, and asking the legislature to, in some fashion, address the housing crisis that we and many other communities in New Mexico are facing.
Yes, President Noble, members of the board, that was something we discussed, and we thought that the housing piece could be a capital ask rather than a legislative priority. So we do plan on bringing that up January 5th, making sure they're aware, but we have been very vocal with our delegation about the need for affordable housing to really help us retain and recruit educators. We have an aging workforce, want to celebrate them when they can reach the age to retire, but also we need some tools to be able to recruit to our district, and this would be one of them.
Thank you. And there's a capital piece, and maybe we have a specific ask around affordable housing that we would work on as a district, which is great. And I know there's not a huge amount of time, but I sort of wonder, there are also some policy improvements on affordable housing, almost, and then there are these big pieces that we heard at the School Boards Association, and that are currently being presented to legislative committees, which on some level, I guess I think we should address. So, which includes the instructional hours, the Yazzie Martinez, those things that were in Secretary Steinhaus's presentation. And ultimately, I guess my thought is if we wanted to put sort of at the end, other general issues or things we support, something like that. And I think, you and your team may be well placed to address some of those. But I think partly because they are important issues, and partly because of the relevance to educators, that it might be worth addressing some of the key things that are already being put in front of them.
No, that's a great point. I do want to just mention, I think it's important to watch this upcoming session. There are going to be a lot of bills around education to include instructional hours, funding, Yazzie Martinez. And again, I want to just thank our team, because in front of the LESC, we did present the way we're addressing Yazzie Martinez, which was through standards-based instruction. So it doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all. We understand that. We've been very vocal that more is not better, but better is better. And when you can change the quality of instruction, that is when you're going to see better outcomes by students. So I agree with you. We will put together at the end some support as we start to look at the school board's platform and also PEDs.
The other thing, and I think I mentioned to you that I sat through a very useful session on the budget, or on the SEG, the school equalization guarantee at the school board's conference. And it was discussed robustly in there how the SEG works, how some of the staffing supports funding works, and they are clearly advocating for a 4% average raise across the board. So maybe it's worth asking for that to be fully funded, you know, when they mandate these things, because if past experience proves what happens, that is often a little bit of an issue. It never quite adds up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Board President, for bringing that up, because if you remember last year when there was an investment into education, it was really around teachers and principals, and we want to thank our legislators for approving that. However, thankful to our board, all educators across the district received 7%, and that wasn't in the bill. So we're hoping that this 4% is for all educators, and it is fully funded, because I think it's a great return on investment into the employees of every single district across the state.
Thank you. And with the inflationary environment we're in, it's not really a raise.
Well, and just to add, you know, 4% plus that 80-20, if passed, will be a big shot in the arm to educators across the state.
That's great. I'm thinking about housing because, you know, the wages are probably the primary issue, but we have an ecosystem that needs some support in our recruitment and retention. And as you say, you know, we have an incredible workforce, but we may be on the leading edge of retirees in our workforce. And so we can lead the way again, and hopefully in being able to keep our staffing levels where they need to be. And there were also, I don't remember all of it, but there were some key things, maybe even about there's hard to fill positions, special education. Yeah.
You know, and thank you for bringing that up again, President Noble. That's something we've been discussing internally, but also with our union president. We see the need for special educators, bilingual and TESOL endorsed educators as well, but also transportation, you know, bus drivers. So, you know, there's a big need to really be addressed, and hopefully the state listens to all of the districts that are asking for support and help in really addressing these high need areas.
Thank you. I think that's all I have. Secretary Anderson? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the superintendent and to Dr. Gonzalez and to the superintendent's team. It was a great meeting to discuss. I want to just echo a few things that you have said. The hard to fill positions, I think, makes sense if there's a place to add, because I think that's really critical when it comes to staffing, and something that I think the legislature could make good movement on. So that I think that would be an excellent thing to add. And then I wonder if, you know, around the state's mandates to address Yazzie Martinez, such as increasing instructional hours, if it makes sense for us to advocate for flexibility. Because I know what we've had a lot of trouble with this year is that we have great ideas about how to implement programs for equity, and sometimes those don't always match exactly what the PED has set forth. So I wonder if it's possible for us to advocate for some flexibility so that our professional educators and administrators can use their professional judgment in helping our students. And then let's see, there was one other thing. I also think that we should have some flexibility when it comes to addressing Yazzie Martinez and addressing equity within the district. I think we've been really on the cutting edge of addressing equity in the district, and it would be great to have the resources to do that, along with the flexibility for us to be creative in the ways that I know that SFPS can. And then finally, I just wanted to call attention, particularly to the last one, the last legislative priority here about alternative power sources and how our youth had input into including that as a legislative priority. I know we've been talking about incorporating the youth voice more into the board, and I think obviously the climate crisis is a huge, huge worry for young people, and having them have a voice in front of our legislators, I think, is really important. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. I echo what you say, and did catch that and meant to say it's wonderful that we have student voice in this reflected here. It's really important. Okay, anything else on this one? Yes, go ahead, Ms. Gallegos.
So about the 17-year-olds to vote, allowing 17-year-olds to vote, me personally, I didn't get to vote in the midterm elections because my birthday's in 20 days. Oh, so I did not get to vote, and so I'd really appreciate that, because I know a lot of kids that that are educated, they don't get to vote because their birthdays are after November. So I think it would be very, very helpful, because more people would get to vote.
Yes, that's a good one. My goddaughter's birthday is November 13th, and she was very sad she didn't get to vote. Anything else on the legislative priorities? Okay, well, it seems we're in agreement, and we'll make a few adjustments. And bright and early breakfast, 7:30 a.m. on January 5th. And Secretary Bozé underlined housing on my notes.
My lack of comment doesn't mean, it just means I don't have anything to add. I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you brought up, especially the housing.
Yeah, I just want to mention, I guess you guys know this, but we are exploring affordable housing for educators. So something that we're working on, as you mentioned, President Noble, continuing to be cutting edge and really looking at our employees as a way to really attract, a workforce as they retire. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for your work and for incorporating student voice and getting this so clear. Okay, next on our board discussion and possible action is reimagining Santa Fe Public Schools. And just to say that we have our third meeting next week. We have a great committee that is coming together. At our last meeting, we did sort of two pieces. One was big picture visioning that was led by Dr. Garcia, and then I was able to lead a sort of brain dump exercise where folks could say what they might want to go in the final reimagining without fear that it wouldn't be vetted or something like that. But we just said, what might be in the final document, and we came up with an incredible list of things, and there was a lot of energy behind just getting very specific ideas down on paper. So there are also some subcommittees, and by some, initially there's one that's communications, to really work on the commitment to robust communication and transparency to the community, and figuring out, how to have this information as readily available and in front of members of our community, both in the schools and out of the schools as possible. So there are folks coming together to work on that. Dr. Garcia, I believe, has spoken to all board members about leading distinct pieces of work. Dr. Gonzalez and board member Abeta were going to work on the student engagement piece, which we hope our student board members will also be very active in. Secretary Bozé, and I should forward you a text I got from somebody about great stuff in Massachusetts that was happening, but is going to help curate and look at some of the examples of other districts and what they're doing around the country. And I believe Board Member Anderson, you talked with Dr. Garcia about how we really, if we were going to do this really well for Indigenous communities and including that voice, how that would look. Is that correct? You want to say anything about that?
That's correct. Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. Yes, that is correct. I think sort of centering Indigenous communities and how this process can best serve Indigenous communities.
Wonderful. So, you know, it's going to take lots of pieces of work that will be woven together through the steering committee. And, you know, we, again, appreciate everybody's efforts on this. As I'm becoming fond of saying, there's a high likelihood that this will fail. But what are we going to do? Not try? And, you know, it's true. There has been work like this before, but we are in a really unique period where we are not in budget crisis. We have a lot of support for public education in our legislature. And coming out of a pandemic, we have an opportunity to innovate that I believe is unprecedented in any of our lifetimes. We also may be facing a workforce disruption and economic can't get a better word than rejiggering right now, but, you know, that I think is probably pretty profound. And I promise I've been trained with some of the best economic minds out there, however informally, on this topic. So, again, thanks to everyone for their work. It will take a lot of us, and it will take some leaps of faith and real efforts to believe that we can do something and put our cynicism at least in a corner for now and move forward with hope and aspiration. So thank you to everyone involved who is doing that.
Madam President.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just would like to maybe reframe the idea that there's a high likelihood that we will fail.
Please.
I know that what the success of that project looks like is vastly different from one person to another. And we all agree that the status quo is not something that we're interested in pursuing. And so, yes, we're going to try, and there will be some really beautiful things that come out of it. I can't accept with all the brilliant thoughts that are going into that and all the work that'll go into that there won't be some incredible, useful, wonderful things that will continue to be shining points in our district. And so, you know, maybe just redefining what success looks like and recognizing that it's different for everybody. But I do absolutely believe that there will be good that comes, and we know that it is better than the status quo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I love that reframe. I really do. Yes, and there's no question that there will be nuggets of gold all over. So thank you. Thank you for that. Anything else on the reimagining?
I noticed there was an email sent out by the superintendent, but darn it, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Is it about the initial survey?
Yeah, but I can't remember.
No worries. All right. Should we move on? Plan for superintendent's evaluation. I just want to flag this really for that we have said we'd do it in January. And I guess to ask Vice President Brose and Secretary Anderson, I think one of the first decisions, I hope we can do this in January, maybe in the second half, to let the superintendent get his feet under him. But do we have a preference to do it on a Saturday or to do it on an evening, I think is one of the first decisions in the decision tree.
Madam President?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would prefer a Saturday just because it gives us a little more flexibility in terms of time. Just if it takes us a longer amount of time, I don't know, it feels like I don't want to limit us on a weekday evening, but I'm open to whatever works for other folks.
Madam President?
Go ahead.
I'm inclined to agree. I think what we know from doing the work that we do here in the evenings is that after hours of discussing important things, that the return on investment starts to decline, and this is a really important thing, and I would like us, most of us all work full-time jobs and or have children. And so maybe some time during the daytime on the weekend when we have fresher brains to devote to this important thing. Thank you.
Excellent. I am inclined to agree and would suggest January 28th as a first option that maybe we can ask Alma to check if that would work for everybody and then look at other options. And then, the next decision in the decision tree is whether we start at what time we start at. I would say not before 9. And I appreciate that, and it's a huge amount of work. We have a rubric. We follow the PED thing. It's decent, and we've streamlined it over the years. We will need a couple board members in January to work on this, and we will want to give the superintendent, I think it worked well, and would advocate for us staying reasonably close to our last process where we gave him a chance to answer the questions because he knows it better than we do. And then we go through that and do the sort of evaluation rubric and talk about the contract, which is, of course, the meat of it. So, yeah. Okay. And I think we could ask, whether a 9 or 10 a.m. start or something like that. I would suggest we don't go much later than that. Okay. Vice President Bozay. And Secretary Anderson. Apparently none of us are super morning people. But, yeah. So, okay, we have a tentative date. Let's see. We do need the full board to do this. So, we'll all be responsive on scheduling. And we will talk more about this in the future. So I think we might want to have this on future agendas because we'll probably need to ask 2 board members to do a little bit of work to make sure that we're prepped and that you have the time in all of the other things to do. Do you want to weigh in on the timing at all or anything?
I prefer the morning as well. If you remember last year, I think we started in the early afternoon and it lasted, through the evening. So earlier the better. Okay. Start time.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on that? All right. The other thing to say that I wanted to say, and maybe we can just make sure that Board Member Abeta and Dr. Gonzalez are aware, I believe that our board policy calls for board officer elections at our first meeting in January. So we will want that on the agenda. I have adored being the president of this board for the past most of 4 years, and will ask to not be president come our next set of officer elections. I have a transition in my my job and it's going to be demanding, not to mention, I think we have, perhaps more importantly, we have an incredibly strong board, and it is time for a change in leadership. And so I think for all of our board members, it's worth thinking about, you know, what they want and how we want this to work. And I am committed to supporting the board in every way I can, a new board president in any way that I can and in any way that is desired. But that is not an office that I will be seeking in 2023. And like I say, it has been one of the greatest honors and joys of my life, really, even to be president of this school board for these past 4 years. But again, I think it is always time for new leadership, or it is sometimes time for new leadership, and now is one of those times. So I want to thank all of my board members, superintendent, previous superintendent. This has been fabulous. And it's time for the dawn of a new officer era. So we'll have that on our next board meeting agenda. Okay. Anything else for board discussion and possible action, future, and whatnot? Moving on to, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you've done as board president, and particularly for your help as board president for a new board member who was appointed. I'm speaking about myself in the third person. It's strange, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the sort of shepherding and leadership that you've shown during my time on the board and prior to this. So with your words, I just wanted to follow up with a big thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else? Moving on to advanced planning, we have basically the first half of the year listed on our agenda for things, including the first thing that we'll be together as a board. And I hope we can invite our student board members, and, you know, if you can make it, great. It may be hard, but it's an interesting thing. We usually sit down here around a table and have breakfast with our state representatives and our state senators who can come. We usually get a pretty good showing from the folks who represent parts of the Santa Fe School District, because all of the districts sort of look different. And it's an interesting discussion, and it's only an hour. So I don't know how that works, and I hope I'm not out of line here, but you know, it'd be wonderful to have student voice in that and all the things.
And if I can just add, we'll work with your principals, because I know that is your first or second day back, so.
Yeah, and no worries, you know, it's an opportunity. If you don't make it, it's not a big deal, but it'd be great to have you.
I don't have a first or a second period, so I'll be here.
There you go. Okay, anything else on advanced planning?
Just want to mention that we'll have a, right now, tentatively set audit committee meeting on the 12th of January.
Okay, great, thank you.
Madam President?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know that folks were very keen to schedule the study session with the CRC, so I think as we just go into the new year, it's helpful. I know everyone already has that in mind, but just wanted to note that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? All right, with that, we are adjourned for 2022. Thank you all very much. It's been a great year.